Beep, beep, beep. The hospital monitors punctuated the chaos as Zara Winters clutched the railings of her bed, sweat beading across her forehead. At just 28 weeks pregnant with triplets, each contraction felt like lightning through her body. Blood pressure dropping to 90/60ths, a nurse called out, her voice steady despite the urgency. "We need to move now," the doctor ordered, looking at the 3 separate heartbeat monitors. "Baby B is showing signs of distress." Through her pain, Zara locked eyes with Oliver Reeves. Despite being confined to his wheelchair at the foot of her bed, his presence filled the room with unwavering strength. The tech CEO, who had revolutionized neural interface technology, now faced a challenge no innovation could solve. "I'm scared," Zara whispered, her voice barely audible above the medical equipment. Oliver wheeled closer, taking her trembling hand. "I've got you," he said with quiet intensity. "All 4 of you." A sharp contraction seized her body, causing the monitors to wail in protest. The medical team moved with practiced precision, preparing for an emergency C-section. "We're losing time," the lead surgeon announced, entering the room. "Get her to the OR. Now." As they rushed her gurney down the hallway, Zara felt a strange calm, despite the storm raging in her body. 7 months ago, she'd been homeless, sleeping on park benches and fighting to survive each day. Now she carried 3 precious lives for a man who had started as her employer but had become something much more. "Stay with me," Oliver called after her, his wheelchair humming as he followed as far as they would allow him. "Fight for them, Zara. Fight for us." The last thing she saw before the anesthesia took hold was Oliver's face, determined, terrified, and filled with a love neither of them had expected to find. Welcome back to the Mr. Ross story trail, my friends. I'm your host, Mr. Ross, and if you're new here, you've joined us at the perfect moment. What you just witnessed was only the beginning of an extraordinary tale that will take you on an emotional journey you won't soon forget. Before we dive deeper into Zara and Oliver's story, do yourself a favor right now. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Our channel delivers powerful true stories every day that will move you, inspire you, and sometimes even change how you see the world. Don't miss a single one. For my loyal returning viewers, you know who you are. Thank you for your continued support. Show some love by hitting that like button right now. I promise you, the story of this homeless woman and the paralyzed tech CEO is unlike anything we've shared before. It's about how life can transform in an instant, how kindness can multiply beyond imagination, and how family forms in the most unexpected circumstances. So settle in, open your heart, and prepare to be moved by this remarkable journey from desperation to destiny. How does a woman go from counting pennies for coffee to carrying the future heirs of a tech empire? 7 months before that critical moment in the hospital, Zara Winters had nothing but a worn backpack and fading dreams. Each night meant a different park bench, each day a struggle to maintain dignity while her nursing career slipped further away. San Francisco's fog became her constant companion, its chill seeping into her bones as deeply as her growing despair. Meanwhile, Oliver Reeves commanded a billion-dollar medical technology company from his wheelchair, his brilliant mind trapped in a body that betrayed him after a climbing accident. His innovations helped thousands with mobility issues, yet he couldn't outrun his own loneliness or the ticking clock on his dreams of fatherhood. These 2 souls, existing in completely different worlds, should never have met. But one stormy night changed everything. What began as a simple act of kindness during a rainstorm evolved into an arrangement neither could have imagined. An offer of employment, a revelation of dreams, a surrogacy proposal that defied convention, and eventually, 3 tiny heartbeats that would bind their futures together in ways they never anticipated. But the path from that rainy night to the delivery room was anything but smooth. There were moments of doubt, medical complications, raised eyebrows from outsiders, and the unexpected blossoming of feelings that neither Zara nor Oliver had planned for. This isn't just a story about surrogacy or second chances. It's about how sometimes the family you never knew you needed finds you when you've lost everything else. It's about how the most beautiful journeys often begin in the darkest moments. And as Zara fought for the lives of those 3 babies in that hospital room, one question remained. Could a woman who once had nowhere to call home and a man bound to a wheelchair build a family they both secretly yearned for? Morning arrived with the harsh nudge of a security guard's flashlight beam across Zara's face. "Can't sleep here, ma'am. Move along." Zara blinked away exhaustion, her body stiff from another night on a wooden bench in Golden Gate Park. The dew had soaked through her thin jacket, leaving a chill that seemed permanent in her bones. She gathered her backpack, containing everything she now owned, and began her daily migration. "Good morning, San Francisco," she whispered, a ritual that helped her maintain a sliver of normalcy as the city awakened around her. By 6:30 a.m., she joined the line at St. Anthony's for a quick bathroom visit, a luxury when you lived on the streets. 20 minutes for a hurried sink bath, brushing teeth, and changing into her cleanest shirt. Zara applied a touch of nearly empty mascara, refusing to completely surrender her identity to her circumstances. "You're looking sharp today, Z," remarked Manuel, a veteran of street life who often saved her spots in various lines throughout the city. "Job interview at noon," she replied, smoothing her hair with water-dampened hands. The lie came easily now. They both knew there was no interview, but the pretense preserved dignity, an increasingly rare commodity in Zara's world. By 8 a.m., she'd secured a free coffee from a sympathetic barista at a local cafe where she'd once been a regular customer. The warmth of the cup in her hands felt like a small miracle as she calculated her resources: $7.36 in loose change, 2 granola bars, and a half-filled water bottle. Enough for today, maybe tomorrow. The city that had once embraced her now seemed designed to repel her existence. Bench dividers prevented lying down, sprinklers activated randomly in parks, public restrooms required purchases, and the stairs, sometimes pitying, sometimes disgusted, always uncomfortable, followed her everywhere. Midday brought the challenge of finding food. Today, Zara positioned herself near a popular lunch spot where office workers often left half-eaten sandwiches. Her nursing training had taught her which discarded foods were safe and which might cause illness, knowledge that had kept her healthier than many others living rough. As afternoon faded, the real work began, securing a safe place to sleep. Each night required different calculations. Which areas would be police-free? Where could she avoid the more aggressive homeless individuals? Which doorways might provide shelter if rain came? Tonight's forecast showed clear skies, a blessing. Zara walked to her favorite hidden corner near the marina, where the wind carried away the city's stench and, on good nights, let her pretend she was simply camping under the stars by choice rather than necessity. As the evening grew darker, Zara huddled into her jacket and allowed herself the rare luxury of remembering. Before the streets claimed her, she'd been Zara Winters, third-year nursing student, with a 3.8 gigapascals and a promising future. "You have healing hands," her clinical supervisor had once told her after watching Zara calm an agitated dementia patient with nothing but gentle touch and quiet words. Some people study nursing, others are born for it. Zara had discovered her calling at 16, while caring for her grandmother through a lengthy illness. What began as necessity evolved into passion, the way a patient's face would relax when pain medication finally took effect, the gratitude in family members' eyes when someone explained medical jargon in understandable terms, the privilege of being present during life's most vulnerable moments. Her specialization would have been geriatric care. She'd even drafted business plans for a community clinic that would offer dignified, affordable care to seniors without family support. No one should navigate aging alone, she'd written in her application essay for a healthcare entrepreneurship grant. That essay had won her a modest scholarship and attention from several healthcare startups. Her future had seemed secure, her path clear. Then came the fire in her apartment building, a faulty electrical system in the affordable housing complex where she'd lived with her grandmother. They escaped with their lives, but nothing else. No renter's insurance, no savings, just the clothes they wore and the shock of sudden displacement. The medical bills followed as her grandmother's health deteriorated from the stress. 6 months of intensive care depleted the small inheritance Zara had been saving for her final year of tuition. When her grandmother passed, Zara found herself alone, grieving, and without resources to continue her education. The descent happened gradually, then suddenly, couch surfing with classmates and a welcome wore thin, a string of temporary jobs that never quite covered both rent and food, the eventual choice between a hostel bed or textbooks for her final semester. She chose education, believing one last push would get her through. But without stable housing, everything else collapsed. She missed clinical rotations when she couldn't shower, failed exams when she couldn't study, lost her student status when she couldn't concentrate. Now, 2 years of nursing knowledge resided in the mind of a woman who slept on benches, a cruel joke of potential unfulfilled. The San Francisco Public Library opened at 9 a.m. sharp. Zara was always third in line, early enough to secure her favorite table near the medical reference section, but not conspicuously first, which might draw unwanted attention from security. "Morning, Miss Winters," whispered Mr. Chen, the reference librarian who had noticed her routine months ago. He bent the rules for her, looking the other way when she stayed in the same spot for hours or when her occasional nap lasted longer than the no-sleeping policy allowed. The library had become Zara's lifeline, not just shelter from weather, but a connection to the person she still believed herself to be beneath the circumstances. Her daily routine never varied. First, job applications. She'd created an email address specifically for employment searches, and used the library computers to send her resume to hospitals, clinics, elder care facilities, anywhere her partial nursing education might be valuable. After applications came 2 hours of studying. Though no longer enrolled, Zara refused to let her medical knowledge atrophy. She read journals, reviewed anatomy texts, and even took notes as if preparing for exams that would never come. "You'll get back there," she whispered to herself each day, a mantra against despair. The afternoon segment involved practical matters, researching shelter availability, checking for assistance program openings, scanning community boards for room shares within her non-existent budget. By evening, Zara allowed herself 1 hour of pure escape, fiction books that transported her beyond her circumstances. Today's choice was a medical thriller, a story where the protagonist's knowledge of human physiology solved an impossible mystery. 10-minute warning, called the evening librarian, signaling closing time. Zara gathered her notes, carefully tucking them into a water-resistant folder in her backpack. As she packed up, she glanced at the library window. Rain had begun falling, quickly transforming from gentle drops to driving sheets. With all nearby shelters already at capacity and her usual doorway spots certain to be soaked, Zara felt the rare sting of tears threatening. 6 months on the streets had toughened her, but some nights tested even her formidable resilience. She stepped outside, immediately drenched as the library lights went dark behind her. Through the downpour, she spotted the illuminated logo of Horizon Technologies on a nearby building, its covered entrance offering at least temporary protection from the storm. Punching against the wind, Zara ran toward the building, unaware that this desperate dash through rain would lead her directly into a future she couldn't begin to imagine. The 43rd floor executive suite of Horizon Technologies offered a commanding view of San Francisco Bay, currently obscured by sheets of rain lashing against floor-to-ceiling windows. Oliver Reeves watched water droplets race down the glass, privately betting on which would reach the bottom first, a childish game he'd never admit to playing during late work nights. At 38, Oliver had transformed a doctoral research project into a multi-billion-dollar medical technology empire. Horizon's neural interface devices had revolutionized mobility for thousands with spinal injuries. The company's stock price had tripled in 5 years. Innovation journals regularly featured him alongside tech legends. Yet success felt hollow tonight as he sat alone in his custom-designed wheelchair, the only sound the gentle hum of its motors when he adjusted position. "Mr. Reeves?" His assistant Layla appeared at the doorway. "The board presentation is ready for your review, and Dr. Menendez called about the clinical trial results." Oliver nodded, wheeling himself away from the hypnotic rain pattern. "Send them through. Anything else? Your physical therapist called. You missed your session again." Oliver waved dismissively. "Reschedule. That's the 3rd time this month," Layla persisted, her tone gentle but firm after 5 years managing his life. "Dr. Wei says consistency is crucial for maintaining your current function." "I'm aware," Oliver replied tersely. The chair hummed as he moved to his desk. "I had breakthrough work on the pediatric interface. Some things take priority." Layla recognized the defensive edge in his voice, the one that emerged whenever his disability required accommodation. Despite creating technology that helped others with similar conditions, Oliver bristled at his own limitations. "There's a reservation at Nami for dinner," she continued, changing subjects. "Town car is scheduled for 8:30. Cancel it. I'll work here. You haven't left the building in 3 days. Oliver looked up from his screen, his expression softening slightly at Layla's concern. "I'll make tomorrow's dinner, promise. Tonight I need to finish this algorithm adjustment." After Layla departed, Oliver wheeled to the window again. From this height, people below appeared as tiny figures rushing through rain, lives intersecting briefly before continuing on separate paths. That randomness fascinated him, how chance encounters sometimes altered life trajectories completely. His own path had diverted dramatically 3 years ago. Before the climbing accident, he'd been equally known for scaling dangerous peaks as for his technological innovations. The mind and body must both conquer impossible challenges, he told countless interviewers. The irony wasn't lost on him that his paralysis had actually accelerated his company's success. Forced to channel all energy into mental rather than physical pursuits, Oliver had developed his most groundbreaking neural interfaces while adapting to life in a wheelchair. Horizon's devices now helped patients worldwide regain partial mobility through brain-computer interfaces that translated neural signals into movement. Each success story brought professional satisfaction but also sharp reminders of the limitations in his own technology. Despite the most advanced prototype permanently implanted in his own spine, Oliver remained paralyzed from the waist down. He could stand briefly with assistance but would never walk independently again. His devices helped but couldn't cure, a reality he both accepted intellectually and raged against privately. A soft chime from his computer interrupted Oliver's thoughts. The latest test results from Horizon's research division had arrived, data from 20 patients using the newest generation neural interface. He immersed himself in the findings, his fingers flying across the keyboard as he analyzed mobility improvements, signal degradation rates, and patient adaptation curves. This version showed a 22% improvement in response time compared to previous models, progress that would mean everything to users waiting for better function. Oliver had pioneered the field of accessible neural interfaces after recognizing the limitations in existing technology during his doctoral work at MIT. Traditional brain-computer interfaces required massive computing power, extensive training, and clinical settings. Oliver's breakthrough had been developing algorithms that adapted to individual neural patterns, allowing devices to become more responsive as they learned their users. The device should adapt to the human, not vice versa, he frequently told his engineering team. His first commercial product had helped stroke patients regain hand function through a non-invasive headset that detected neural signals and translated them into fine motor commands. The second generation expanded to assist people with spinal cord injuries in controlling computerized leg braces. The technology that made Oliver wealthy came after his accident, a fully implantable neural interface that created new pathways around damaged spinal sections. Though not a cure for paralysis, it offered users improved control over affected limbs and reduced complications like muscle atrophy. Oliver switched screens to view a video sent by the clinical team, a young woman taking her first steps with the Horizon H7 interface after a motorcycle accident had paralyzed her. Her face transformed from intense concentration to tearful joy as her legs responded to her commands. These moments sustained him through countless research failures and regulatory hurdles. Each patient represented a promise fulfilled, the same promise he'd made to himself in the hospital after his own diagnosis, that paralysis would limit the body but never the mind's capacity to innovate. He zoomed in on the interface specifications, noting areas for refinement. The current model required surgical implantation of 16 microelectrode arrays along the spine, plus a processor the size of a matchbox embedded near the lumbar region. His team was working to reduce this to a less invasive procedure with smaller components. Progress was steady, but never fast enough for Oliver, who lived with the daily reality of what his technology could and couldn't yet accomplish. His own implant, version H9.5, 2 generations beyond what was commercially available, allowed him limited standing capability and improved autonomic function, but nothing approaching normal mobility. Each enhancement to the technology brought hope to thousands while simultaneously reminding Oliver of how far the science still needed to go. This contradiction fueled his relentless work ethic and his isolation, both of which had intensified since his accident. Rain continued to drum against the windows as Oliver finished reviewing the clinical data. He checked the time, 10:48 p.m., and realized he'd forgotten to eat again. His body registered hunger only as an afterthought these days, another physical need that took backseat to his mental pursuits. He wheeled to the small executive kitchen and retrieved a protein shake from the refrigerator, a poor substitute for the dinner Layla had attempted to schedule, but sufficient. As he drank, his eyes drifted to a silver frame on his credenza, the only personal item in his otherwise minimalist office. The photo showed Oliver's sister Caroline with her husband and twin children at their lake house last summer. 8-year-old Ellie sat proudly on Uncle Oliver's lap while Max demonstrated a cannonball off the dock. That weekend had been rare perfection, sunshine, laughter, and the simple joy of family connection. Oliver touched the frame lightly, a familiar ache spreading through his chest. Before his accident, he'd assumed children would eventually be part of his life. Not an immediate priority while building his company, but a future certainty. He dated casually, focused on rock climbing and work, believing time was abundant. The spinal cord injury had changed his perspective on time entirely. Suddenly, things he'd postponed seemed urgently important, yet simultaneously more complicated to achieve. "Your injury doesn't affect fertility," his doctor had assured him during rehabilitation. Many men with similar injuries have biological children. What the doctor didn't elaborate on was the complex reality beyond the biological possibility. Dating had become a minefield of uncomfortable questions, premature discussions about capabilities, and the exhausting need to distinguish between genuine interest and pity. Oliver had tried several relationships post-accident. Each had dissolved for different stated reasons, but he recognized a pattern. His partners couldn't reconcile the dynamic innovator with the man who needed assistance with basic physical functions. Or perhaps he was the one unable to reconcile these aspects of himself. He set down the empty shake container and moved back to the window. The storm had intensified, city lights blurring through the downpour. Far below, a solitary figure darted under the building's entrance awning, seeking shelter. Oliver watched absently, his mind still on the family photo. His niece and nephew were growing rapidly. Soon they'd be teenagers, then adults. His opportunity to experience parenthood firsthand slipped further away with each passing year. At 38, time wasn't unlimited, especially considering the additional complexities his condition presented. Caroline had broached the subject during her last visit. Have you considered other options? Surrogacy? Adoption? He had considered them, extensively researched both in fact, but something always held him back from taking concrete steps. Perhaps fear that his workaholic tendencies and physical limitations would make him an insufficient parent. Perhaps concern that his wealth would attract surrogate candidates with questionable motives. Perhaps simple inertia, the path of continued work being easier than venturing into the emotional unknown of family creation. The figure below remained huddled under the awning, apparently determined to wait out the storm. Oliver felt an unexpected kinship with this stranger. Both of them paused in place while the world continued around them. Mr. Reeves? The security desk phone light blinked on his office console. Building's closing down for the night. Did you want your driver called? Oliver hesitated, his attention still on the figure below. Not yet, Frank. I'll be heading down shortly. As lightning illuminated the night sky, Oliver made a spontaneous decision. Actually, Frank, hold security from removing anyone sheltering from the storm. I'm coming down on myself. The rain transformed from steady drizzle to vicious downpour in minutes, sending pedestrians scurrying for cover. Lightning cracked across the sky, followed by thunder that seemed to shake the very foundation of the Horizon Technologies building. Zara pressed herself against the glass entrance, trying to minimize contact with the rain being blown sideways under the insufficient awning. Her worn sneakers squished with each slight movement, her jeans soaked to the knee. The backpack containing her entire life she clutched protectively against her chest, though she knew most of its contents would be damp despite her efforts. The digital display on the building's exterior showed 11:06 p.m., hours until morning, hours until any shelter would have space, hours of this relentless storm. She closed her eyes, calculating options. The 24-hour laundromat 3 blocks east might work, but the night attendant had chased her out twice before. The underground parking, garage near the wharf sometimes went unchecked, but reaching it meant traversing flooded streets. Perhaps the emergency room waiting area? She could fake symptoms long enough to dry out. Lost in desperate planning, Zara didn't notice the lobby doors sliding open until a voice broke through the storm's roar. You'll catch pneumonia out here. Startled, she turned to find a man in a sleek wheelchair just inside the threshold. Despite casual clothes, dark jeans, and a gray Henley, something about him commanded attention. Perhaps the straight posture, or the analytical intensity in his eyes as they assessed her situation. I'm fine, Zara answered automatically, pulling her backpack tighter. Just waiting for the rain to let up. The man glanced at the torrential downpour. The weather service says it's getting worse. Flash flood warnings until morning. A security guard appeared behind him, expression shifting from professional concern to suspicion when he noticed Zara. Everything all right, Mr. Reeves? Everything's fine, Frank. The man, Mr. Reeves apparently, kept his focus on Zara. Would you like to come inside? At least until the worst passes? The security guard's face tightened, clearly disapproving. Zara hesitated. Street survival required cautious assessment of both danger and opportunity. The man seemed genuine, but experience had taught her wariness of unexpected kindness. Another lightning flash illuminated the street, followed by immediate thunder, the storm directly overhead now. As if punctuating nature's fury, a nearby drainage grate overflowed, sending water cascading across the sidewalk toward her feet. I promise the lobby's warmer than that awning, Mr. Reeves added, lips quivering slightly. Decision made, Zara stepped through the automatic doors, water pooling instantly around her feet on the polished marble floor. I'll mess up your floor, she apologized, suddenly conscious of her bedraggled appearance in the immaculate lobby. Floors can be cleaned, he replied simply, then turned to the guard. Frank, could you get some towels from the executive locker room? The guard hesitated, clearly torn between following his boss's orders and maintaining building security protocols. Now please, Mr. Reeves added, his tone gentle but leaving no room for argument. As Frank departed, Mr. Reeves extended his hand. I'm Oliver Reeves. I own this building. Zara Winters, she replied, shaking his hand briefly before self-consciousness made her withdraw her damp fingers. Thank you for letting me in. Oliver gestured toward a seating area tucked into a corner of the vast lobby. There's coffee in the executive lounge. Would you like some? You look like you could use warming up. The mention of coffee nearly broke Zara's careful composure. How long since she'd had a proper cup? The library offered tepid water for instant packets, but real coffee. That would be wonderful, she admitted, careful to maintain dignity despite her circumstances. Oliver's wheelchair hummed softly as he led her to an elevator requiring a key card. The doors opened to reveal a stylish lounge with floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the storm-lashed city. "Cream? Sugar?" he asked, navigating to a professional-grade coffee machine. "Black is fine," Zara answered, standing awkwardly, conscious of her dripping clothes against the pristine furnishings. Oliver noticed her discomfort. "There's a restroom through that door with a hand dryer if you want to dry off a bit. Frank should be bringing towels soon." Grateful for the opportunity, Zara excused herself. In the privacy of the marble-lined bathroom, she assessed her reflection under harsh lights. Her once shoulder-length brown hair had grown out, now hanging limply past her shoulders. Dark circles shadowed eyes that had once been her best feature. Her cheekbones stood prominent, not the fashionable kind, but the hollow result of inconsistent meals. She did what she could, washing her face, drying her hair, and the worst of her clothes under the hand dryer, attempting to look less like a drowned rat and more like someone who deserved to be in this building. When she emerged, a steaming cup of coffee awaited beside a plate with a sandwich and apple. "I had some dinner left," Oliver explained, noting her hesitation. "Please, help yourself." Hunger warred with pride. Hunger won. "You don't seem surprised to find your boss inviting strangers in from the rain," Zara observed between careful bites, pacing herself despite ravenousness. "Oliver Reeves isn't just any boss," Frank replied, returning with towels. "He's Oliver Reeves. Horizon Neural Interfaces? The man's a genius." Oliver shook his head slightly. "Thank you, Frank. That'll be all for tonight." After the guard departed, Zara studied Oliver with renewed interest. "Neural interfaces? You make medical devices?" Oliver's eyebrows rose slightly. "You're familiar with the technology? I studied nursing before." She gestured vaguely at her circumstances. "Your H5 interface system was revolutionizing stroke rehabilitation when I was still in school." Oliver leaned forward, genuine interest replacing polite conversation. "The H5 is ancient history. We're on H7 commercially now, with H9 in clinical trials. The H7 incorporates direct neural feedback from motor pathways, right? I read about the concept but hadn't heard it was already in production." For the next 30 minutes, their conversation flowed through medical technology, clinical applications, and healthcare accessibility, Zara matching Oliver's expertise with surprising knowledge despite her circumstances. Neither mentioned the storm still raging outside nor the unusual nature of their meeting. "Your background in nursing, what happened?" Oliver finally asked, refilling her coffee cup. Zara considered deflection, the practiced vagueness she used when people inquired about her situation. Something about Oliver's direct gaze invited honesty instead. "Fire destroyed my apartment during my 3rd year of nursing school. My grandmother needed round-the-clock care afterward. Medical bills, no insurance." She shrugged. "By the time she passed, I'd exhausted savings, missed too many classes to continue, and couldn't afford housing while reapplying." "I'm sorry about your grandmother," Oliver said, his tone genuine. "She was fortunate to have you. She raised me after my parents died. I owed her everything." Zara straightened, uncomfortable with sympathy. "Anyway, that was 18 months ago. I keep applying for healthcare positions, but without completing my degree, and with no permanent address." Oliver nodded thoughtfully. "The system creates impossible circles. I need an address to get a job. I need a job to get an address."
"Exactly," Zara agreed, surprised by his understanding.
A comfortable silence settled between them, broken only by the storm's persistent drumming against windows. "My estate manager left unexpectedly last week," Oliver said suddenly. "The position includes living quarters and would benefit from someone with a medical background." Zara stiffened. "I don't want charity. It's not charity. It's practicality," Oliver countered. "I need someone who understands medical terminology to coordinate with my care team, manage household staff, and occasionally assist when my regular nurse is unavailable. Your nursing background makes you qualified." Zara studied him skeptically. "You're offering a job to someone you found huddled under your awning?" "I'm offering an interview to someone who demonstrated impressive medical knowledge and managed dignity through difficult circumstances," Oliver corrected. "The fact that we met because of the storm doesn't negate your qualifications." He handed her a business card. "Think about it overnight. Call this number tomorrow if you're interested in a formal interview." Zara accepted the card, conflicting emotions battling within her. Pride demanded rejection of anything resembling a handout. Practicality whispered this might be her only chance to escape the streets. "The storm's letting up," Oliver observed, checking his watch. "My driver can take you wherever you need to go." "Thank you, but no," Zara replied firmly. "You've been kind enough." As they returned to the lobby, Oliver's wheelchair pausing at the security desk, he turned to her one last time. "The job offer is genuine, Miss Winters. I respect your reluctance, but sometimes help arrives in unexpected forms." Outside, under clearing skies, Zara clutched Oliver's card, her mind racing through possibilities. The women's shelter had one open bed tonight, rare luck. As she walked toward it, each step felt like a decision point in a life that had offered few choices recently. Life-changing moments often arrived disguised as ordinary decisions. For Zara, walking away with that business card represented more than a potential job. It offered a bridge back to the person she used to be. Have you ever received an unexpected opportunity that seemed too good to be true? Would you have trusted Oliver's offer, or would pride have held you back? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you're enjoying Zara and Oliver's journey so far, show your support by hitting that like button right now. Each like helps our channel reach more people with these powerful stories of human connection and second chances. Now let's discover what Zara decided the morning after that fateful rainy night. Morning sunlight streamed through windows larger than Zara's entire former apartment as she stood frozen in the doorway of the guest house. Behind her, the estate's housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, waited patiently. "This can't be right," Zara whispered. "Mr. Reeves was clear. These are your quarters," Mrs. Chen confirmed, stepping past Zara to open curtains fully. Kitchen fully stocked, bathroom through there, bedroom upstairs, laundry facilities in the mudroom. The guest house was a two-story cottage with hardwood floors, modern furniture, and a wall of windows overlooking San Francisco Bay. After 6 months of park benches and shelter cots, the space seemed impossibly vast. "There must be some mistake," Zara protested. "I'm just the estate manager, not—" "The previous manager lived here too," Mrs. Chen interrupted, her efficiency leaving no room for argument. "Mr. Reeves believes staff perform better with proper accommodations." 3 days after that rainy night, Zara had called the number on Oliver's card. The formal interview had been surprisingly rigorous. 3 hours of questions about medical terminology, organizational systems, and ethical scenarios. Oliver had made it clear this was a real position with real responsibilities, not charity. She'd started immediately. Now, standing in her new home, reality seemed disconnected from the desperate circumstances she'd known just days earlier. "Staff meeting at 10 a.m. in the main house," Mrs. Chen continued, handing Zara a tablet. "Estate calendar, security codes, dietary requirements, medical schedules, all in here. Questions?" Overwhelmed, Zara shook her head. "Good. Uniforms in the closet. Business casual except for medical assistance days. Scrubs provided then." After Mrs. Chen departed, Zara set her backpack, containing everything she owned, on an immaculate countertop. The contrast between her meager possessions and these surroundings created cognitive dissonance she couldn't reconcile. She explored cautiously, half expecting someone to appear and announce a mistake. The kitchen contained actual food, fresh vegetables, proteins, staples. The bathroom featured a shower with multiple jets and towels thicker than any she'd touched in years. The bedroom held a queen-size bed with linens that probably cost more than a semester of her former nursing school tuition. By the tablet's clock, she had 40 minutes until the staff meeting. Just enough time to shower, a luxury she'd forgotten, could last more than 3 minutes in shelter facilities. As hot water cascaded over her body, Zara allowed herself tears she'd suppressed for months. Not sad tears, but the overwhelming release of tension carried too long. Whatever happened next, tonight she would sleep in a real bed, in a safe place, with a full stomach. For the first time in 18 months, Zara Winters dared to exhale. "The nutritionist insists on leafy greens with every lunch, but they make me gag," Oliver complained, reviewing the weekly menu Zara had prepared. "Can we compromise?" 3 days with greens, 4 without," Zara countered, making notes on her tablet. "Your potassium levels were borderline last check." 2 months into her position, Zara had settled into an efficient rhythm, managing Oliver's complex household. The estate ran like a small corporation. Housekeeping staff, groundskeepers, security team, and Oliver's medical personnel all required coordination. "Fine, but no kale," Oliver conceded, wheeling toward the window overlooking his private gym where his physical therapist was setting up equipment. "Anderson's late again?" "By 3 minutes," Zara noted, checking her watch. He called, "Traffic on the bridge." Oliver frowned. Consistency matters in neural retraining. Even small delays impact progress. Zara recognized the frustration beneath his criticism, not actually about Henderson's timing, but about the painstakingly slow improvements in Oliver's mobility despite cutting-edge technology. "I've adjusted tomorrow's schedule to add 15 minutes of buffer," she replied calmly. "And I've asked Dr. Wei about the new stimulation protocol you mentioned." Oliver's expression softened. "Thank you. Sometimes I forget that not everyone operates on my timetable, says the man who rescheduled 3 meetings yesterday to work on coding. He laughed, a sound Zara had discovered was relatively rare in the Reeves household. Touché. At least I had a productive excuse. Your 10 a.m. board meeting needs a productive excuse too. Conference room ready. Presentation loaded. Their professional dynamic had evolved naturally into something resembling partnership rather than typical employer-employee relationship. Oliver valued Zara's medical knowledge and organizational skills. Zara appreciated his brilliant mind and surprisingly considerate management style. When Oliver required medical assistance, Zara seamlessly switched from administrator to care provider, helping with transfer, techniques, monitoring vitals during intensive therapy, or administering prescribed treatments when his regular nurse was unavailable. During one such session, as Zara helped adjust positioning equipment, Oliver had remarked, "You missed your calling. You're more knowledgeable than half my medical team." Not officially, she'd replied, but the compliment had rekindled something long dormant, her identity as a healthcare provider rather than just a survivor. Now, as Oliver prepared for his therapy session, Zara noticed a slight grimace as he transferred from his everyday chair to the specialized exercise equipment. "Pain scale?" she asked quietly. "4, he admitted, then seeing her skeptical expression, amended, "Maybe 6. I'll adjust your medication schedule, and I'm adding massage therapy this week." Oliver began to protest, then stopped. "All right, Dr. Winters, not a doctor," she reminded him. "Just someone who pays attention." "That's why you're invaluable around here," Oliver replied, his tone suddenly serious. "Most people see the chair first, then me as an afterthought. You see the whole person." The unexpected compliment lingered between them, creating a moment of connection that transcended their professional roles. Zara busied herself with the tablet, uncomfortable with the warmth spreading through her chest. As she left Oliver to his therapy, Zara acknowledged a truth she'd been avoiding. In just 2 months, this job had become far more than financial salvation. It had restored purpose to her life, and Oliver Reeves was becoming dangerously important to her sense of belonging. Which Ty says, "I'm a responsible adult who makes sound financial decisions." Oliver held up 2 nearly identical blue ties, his expression uncharacteristically uncertain. Zara pointed to the one in his left hand. "That one brings out your eyes. The investor dinner is at 7. The car will be here at 6:30. "Thanks." Oliver fidgeted with his collar, a sure sign of nervousness Zara had learned to recognize. "By the way, my sister Caroline called. She's bringing the twins for the weekend." "I've already prepared the guest rooms and stocked their favorite snacks," Zara replied, mentally reviewing her weekend preparations. "Ellie still likes strawberry milk? Max is still allergic to peanuts?" Oliver smiled appreciatively. "Yes to both. You remember everything." "It's literally my job," Zara reminded him, though they both knew her attention to personal details went beyond professional obligation. Oliver wheeled to the window, his back to Zara, as he adjusted his tie. "There's something I haven't told you about Caroline's visit. She's bringing someone for me to meet." "A setup?" Zara kept her tone neutral, despite the unexpected twinge in her chest. "A reproductive endocrinologist, specializes in family planning for people with spinal cord injuries." Oliver turned to face her, expression vulnerable in a way Zara rarely witnessed. "I want children, Zara. I've always wanted them, even before the accident." The revelation shouldn't have surprised her. She'd organized his medications, scheduled his appointments, managed his most private affairs for months, yet somehow this fundamental desire had never been discussed. "The doctor is coming to talk about options," Oliver continued. "Fertility preservation, surrogacy possibilities, legal considerations." "That's wonderful," Zara said, meaning it despite her confusing emotions. "You'd be an amazing father, would I?" Uncertainty crept into his voice. "With my limitations, my work schedule?" "I've seen you with your niece and nephew," Zara reminded him. "They adore you precisely because you don't treat them like fragile objects or shower them with meaningless gifts. You engage with them, really listen." Oliver considered her words. "Thank you for that. Few people see beyond the chair to imagine me as a parent." "Well, they're idiots," Zara stated flatly, earning a surprised laugh from Oliver. "The timing feels right," he admitted. "The company's stable, the new implant technology is progressing well, and—" He hesitated. "I'm not getting any younger." "You're 38, not 80, Zara pointed out, organizing papers on his desk. "In tech years, that's ancient," Oliver joked, though the concern beneath was genuine. "But seriously, the doctor says male fertility doesn't have the same strict timeline as female, but quality decreases with age. If I want biological children, sooner is better than later." Zara nodded, maintaining professional composure while processing this new dimension of Oliver's life. "I'll ensure everything is prepared for the doctor's visit. What time should I schedule the consultation?" Saturday afternoon if possible. And Zara? Oliver caught her gaze. I'd appreciate it if you'd join us. Your medical background would be helpful in processing options, and frankly, I trust your judgment. The request crossed unspoken boundaries between employer and employee, yet felt natural given their evolving relationship. Of course, she agreed, ignoring the complex emotions stirring beneath her calm exterior. I'll be there. Uncle Oliver, watch this. 8-year-old Max executed a wobbly cartwheel across the lawn while his twin sister Ellie scored an impressive goal on the child-sized soccer net Oliver had installed for their visits. 10 points for style, Oliver called to Max, then turned to Ellie, and that goal was professional quality. From the terrace, Zara watched the interaction with Caroline beside her. Oliver's sister shared his dark hair and analytical eyes, though her energetic personality contrasted with his more measured demeanor. He's different, Caroline observed, sipping lemonade. More present. Usually during our visits, he's mentally calculating algorithms while pretending to watch the kids. He's been working on work-life balance, Zara replied diplomatically. Caroline gave her a knowing look. Since you arrived, you mean? 5 months ago, I couldn't drag him away from that lab. Now he's hosting weekend barbecues and scheduling actual family time. I just manage his calendar, Zara demurred. You manage more than that, Caroline countered gently. You've created space for him to be human again, not just a brilliant mind in a wheelchair. Before Zara could respond, Dr. Eleanor Ramos arrived for the scheduled consultation. As Zara escorted her to Oliver's study, Caroline distracted the children with promises of swimming in the indoor pool. Thank you for coming to my home, Oliver greeted the doctor, his professional facade firmly in place despite the personal nature of the conversation ahead. Family creation is deeply personal, Dr. Ramos replied. These discussions are better in comfortable environments. For the next 2 hours, they explored options available to Oliver. His spinal cord injury didn't affect fertility directly, but did complicate the physical aspects of conception. The doctor outlined possibilities from assistive reproductive technologies to surrogacy. With your resources, surrogacy is likely your best option, Dr. Ramos concluded. We would use your sperm with a donor egg, then implant the embryo in a gestational carrier, someone who carries the pregnancy but has no genetic connection to the child. What's the timeline for something like this? Oliver asked, taking notes on his tablet. Finding the right surrogate can take months, sometimes years, the doctor explained. The matching process is crucial. You need someone physically healthy, emotionally stable, and legally appropriate. Zara maintained professional composure throughout, asking relevant questions about medical procedures while ignoring the strange hollowness developing in her chest. Oliver's path to parenthood would inevitably change their current dynamic, perhaps end it entirely if he found a partner in the process. I'll prepare a list of reputable agencies, Dr. Ramos promised as the consultation concluded. And we should schedule fertility testing to ensure we're working with optimal sperm quality. After walking the doctor out, Zara returned to find Oliver staring thoughtfully at the family photos on his desk. Overwhelming? She asked quietly. Yes and no, he replied. The science is straightforward. The human elements are complicated. He looked up at her. What did you think? Zara chose her words carefully. I think you have a clear path forward if parenthood is what you want. The right surrogate will be crucial. That's what concerns me, Oliver admitted. Inviting a stranger to carry my child, trusting them with something so precious. Before Zara could respond, joyful shrieks announced the twins' return, still damp from swimming. Uncle Oliver. Ellie climbed directly onto his lap while Max demonstrated his newest karate move. Mom says we're making homemade pizza for dinner and you promised to show us your robot prototypes. Oliver's face transformed, tension vanishing as he engaged with his niece and nephew. I absolutely did. Want to see the one that can play chess? As the children cheered, Caroline appeared in the doorway, giving Zara a significant look. He needs this, she said quietly. A family of his own. Watching Oliver wheel toward his lab with a child on each armrest of his chair, Zara couldn't disagree. The question lingering unspoken was what role, if any, she might play in that future family. Sometimes the most profound connections form when we least expect them. Zara entered Oliver's home as an employee, but was becoming something more, a confidant, a support system, perhaps even a friend, and now she faced the complicated reality of helping him build a family that might not include her. What would you do in Zara's position? Would you maintain professional boundaries or acknowledge growing feelings? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story is touching your heart, please take a moment to hit that like button and share it with someone who might need a reminder that second chances come in unexpected forms. Now, let's continue with Oliver's journey toward parenthood and the unexpected proposal that would change everything. I wish I had better news, Dr. Ramos said, sliding a folder across Oliver's desk 3 weeks after their initial consultation. Oliver scanned the medical report, his expression tightening as he processed the information. Zara, present at his request, stood quietly by the window, maintaining professional distance while still offering silent support. "You're certain about these numbers?" Oliver asked, setting down the folder. Dr. Ramos nodded. "Your sperm motility and morphology are lower than optimal, not dire but concerning given your goals. The autonomic nervous system disruption from your injury is likely contributing to decreased quality over time." "Meaning?" Oliver prompted, though his expression suggested he already understood the implications. "Meaning, your window for biological fatherhood is narrowing faster than average," the doctor explained gently. "If you're committed to having biological children, I recommend proceeding within the next 12 months for optimal chances of success." Oliver's hands tensed on his wheelchair armrests. A subtle tell Zara had learned indicated deep frustration. "We've contacted 3 surrogacy agencies. The waiting lists are 18 to 24 months minimum. There are international options," Dr. Ramos suggested. "Though they come with additional legal complexities, I've researched those," Oliver replied. "The regulatory issues with bringing a child back to the U.S. are considerable." Zara watched Oliver absorb this setback. Over the past weeks, she'd helped him research surrogacy options, schedule consultations, and prepare necessary medical documentation. What had begun as professional assistance had evolved into emotional investment in his journey toward parenthood. "What about private surrogacy arrangements?" Dr. Ramos asked. "Sometimes connections through friends, family, or community yield candidates faster than agencies. I've mentioned this possibility to a few trusted colleagues," Oliver admitted. The responses were awkward at best. Apparently asking someone to carry your child isn't standard business networking. Despite the tension, Dr. Ramos smiled. "It's certainly a unique request, but not impossible. The right surrogate is someone who understands the profound nature of the gift while maintaining appropriate boundaries. Someone with medical knowledge would be ideal. They'd understand the process better." "I'll keep looking," Oliver said, his tone final. "Thank you for your candor, Doctor." After escorting Dr. Ramos out, Zara returned to find Oliver staring out the window toward the bay, his profile etched with disappointment. "We'll find a solution," she offered quietly. Oliver turned, his professional mask momentarily dropped to reveal genuine vulnerability. "Time was never a concern before my accident. I assumed I had plenty of it. Now even my cells are reminding me of my limitations." The raw honesty in his voice stirred something protective in Zara. After months in his household, she'd witnessed his brilliant mind, his quiet kindness, his determination despite obstacles. The thought of him denied fatherhood because of timing and circumstance seemed profoundly unjust. "I should get back to work," Oliver said finally, rebuilding his composed exterior. "Would you ask Layla to reschedule this afternoon's investor call? I need time to process this." "Of course," Zara replied, respecting his need for space while an idea, improbable yet persistent, began forming in her mind. Evening descended on the estate, painting the sky in watercolor hues of amber and violet. Zara found Oliver on the terrace, a glass of untouched scotch beside his tablet, displaying yet another surrogacy agency website. "Any promising leads?" she asked, setting down a light dinner tray. His appetite had diminished since the doctor's visit 3 days prior. "One possibility in Chicago," Oliver replied without enthusiasm. "Former labor and delivery nurse, excellent health history, but she's already committed to another family for the next 14 months. Zara settled into a chair across from him, gathering courage for the conversation she'd been rehearsing mentally since Dr. Ramos's visit. "I've been thinking about your situation," she began carefully. "My situation," Oliver echoed with a wry smile. Such a polite term for biological clock unexpectedly ticking while paralyzed from the waist down. "Your desire for children," Zara clarified, "and the timeline is challenging." "It's not your concern," Oliver said, then immediately softened. "I appreciate your help with research, but this isn't in your job description." "That's actually what I wanted to discuss." Zara took a deep breath. "What if you didn't need to wait for an agency match?" Oliver set down his tablet. "I've explored private arrangements, the legal complexities." "I could do it," Zara interrupted, the words emerging with surprising steadiness despite her racing heart. "I could be your surrogate." Silence stretched between them, broken only by distant waves against the cliffside below the property. Oliver's expression cycled through confusion, surprise, and something unreadable. "That's not why I hired you," he finally said, his voice low. "I would never expect—" "I know that," Zara interrupted again. "This isn't about obligation or employment. This is a separate consideration entirely." Oliver studied her face, searching for hidden motives. "Why would you offer something so significant?" The question demanded absolute honesty. Zara chose her words carefully, knowing their relationship. professional and personal, hung in the balance. Before my life derailed, I wanted to help people. It's why I studied nursing. This would be helping in the most profound way possible. She met his gaze directly. I've seen you with your niece and nephew. I've watched how you mentor young engineers. You deserve to be a father, Oliver. Surrogacy is far beyond professional assistance, Zara. It's nearly a year of physical demands, medical appointments, and potential complications. I'm aware, she replied simply. I've been researching alongside you, remember? I know exactly what it entails. Oliver wheeled slightly away, gathering thoughts. And afterward, have you considered how this would affect your future, your career, potential relationships? I've thought about all of that, Zara acknowledged. I believe we could establish clear boundaries. The child would be yours, legally, emotionally, practically. I would remain an estate manager if you still wanted me, or move on professionally if that seemed healthier. You make it sound simple, Oliver said, turning back to her. It's anything but. The arrangement isn't simple, Zara agreed. But my offer is. I'm healthy, I understand the medical aspects, and I respect you enough to maintain appropriate boundaries. I fit every criterion Dr. Ramos described. Oliver's expression softened with something like wonder. Most people in your position would be focused on rebuilding their own life, not helping someone else create a family. Maybe helping you is part of rebuilding mine, Zara replied quietly. Giving someone else what I couldn't give my grandmother, a chance at family when it seemed impossible. The personal revelation hung between them, shifting their dynamic in ways neither could fully process in the moment. I need time to think, Oliver said finally. Take all the time you need. Zara stood, professional composure returning. The offer stands without pressure or expectation. Whatever you decide won't affect my work here. As she turned to leave, Oliver called after her. Zara, thank you. Not just for the offer, but for seeing possibilities where I saw only obstacles. 3 days passed with careful politeness between them. Oliver retreated into work, emerging only for necessary interactions. Zara maintained the household with quiet efficiency, giving him space while questions hung unanswered. On the 4th evening, Oliver found Zara in the estate's library, reviewing medical journals, a habit from her nursing days she'd reclaimed since joining his household. I've been talking with lawyers, he said without preamble, wheeling into the room, and medical advisors, and a therapist, actually. Zara closed her tablet, giving him full attention. And I want to explore your offer seriously. Oliver positioned his chair across from her, but only with complete transparency about what it would mean for both of us. For the next 2 hours, they discussed implications with unflinching honesty. Oliver outlined legal considerations, contracts establishing parental rights, financial responsibilities, healthcare provisions. Zara raised practical concerns about maintaining professional boundaries during and after pregnancy. You'd need your own legal representation, Oliver insisted. Someone looking exclusively at your interests, not mine. Agreed, Zara nodded. And medical decisions during pregnancy? Yours to make, with my input where appropriate? Oliver's expression turned serious. Your body, your autonomy, that's non-negotiable. They addressed uncomfortable questions directly. What if Zara developed emotional attachment to the child? What if pregnancy complications affected her long-term health? What if Oliver met someone who became a co-parent during the process? I need absolute certainty you're doing this for the right reasons, Oliver said. Not from gratitude for employment or misplaced obligation. And I need to know you won't see me differently afterward, Zara countered. Not as a former vessel, not as an awkward reminder, not as someone entitled to parenting input. The conversation continued over subsequent days, expanding to include practical details. They met with fertility specialists to understand medical protocols, with attorneys to draft agreements, with counselors specialized in surrogate arrangements. 2 weeks after Zara's initial offer, they sat in Oliver's study with finalized contracts before them. Last chance to reconsider, Oliver said quietly. Once we begin medical preparation, we're committed to this path. Zara met his gaze steadily. I'm certain. Are you? I've never been more certain of anything, he admitted. Not just about wanting a child, but about trusting you with something this important. They signed the documents, legal language formalizing an arrangement beyond ordinary definition. More than employment, different from friendship, not quite family, yet containing elements of all three. What began as a straightforward medical process soon developed emotional dimensions neither had fully anticipated. Oliver attended every appointment, learning about hormone protocols and embryo development with the same intensity he applied to neural interface design. Zara found herself touched by his genuine interest in her well-being beyond just the success of the pregnancy. When the day came for embryo transfer, Oliver waited anxiously in the clinic's consultation room while Zara underwent the procedure. 3 carefully selected embryos, created from Oliver's sperm and an anonymous donor's eggs, were placed in her uterus in hopes that at least one would implant successfully. "How are you feeling?" Oliver asked when she rejoined him, his concern evident. "Physically fine," Zara assured him. "Emotionally strange. We just created potential life together without actually, well, creating life together," Oliver finished, a hint of color touching his cheeks. "Yes, modern medicine makes for unusual partnerships." The word partnership lingered between them, more accurate than their official arrangement, yet insufficient to describe what they were becoming to each other. "Ready to see what we're working with?" Dr. Keller asked 6 weeks later, preparing the ultrasound machine while Zara reclined on the examination table. The 2-week wait after embryo transfer had passed with cautious optimism when blood tests confirmed pregnancy. Now came the first visual confirmation, an assessment of how many embryos had successfully implanted. Oliver positioned his wheelchair beside Zara, his expression a mixture of excitement and apprehension. By silent agreement, he'd been present for every medical appointment, though he always asked permission before entering examination rooms. "Definitely ready," Zara confirmed, lifting her shirt to expose her still flat abdomen. The cool gel and pressure of the ultrasound wand were familiar sensations from her nursing training, though experiencing them as a patient rather than a caregiver felt surreal. Dr. Keller moved the wand methodically, eyes fixed on the screen. "There we go," the doctor murmured, adjusting settings. "Good, strong heartbeat." Oliver leaned forward, eyes widening at the rhythmic fluttering on screen. "That's your baby," Dr. Keller confirmed with a smile, measuring exactly on target for 6 weeks. Zara felt Oliver's hand brush against hers, a spontaneous gesture of shared emotion. She turned her palm upward, allowing their fingers to intertwine briefly. "Wait," Dr. Keller said suddenly, moving the wand slightly. There's a second heartbeat." "Twins?" Oliver's voice carried wonder rather than concern. The doctor continued moving the wand, concentration evident. "Actually, I'm detecting, yes, that's definitely a third heartbeat. Congratulations, Mr. Reeves. You're having triplets." The room fell silent as the information registered. 3 distinct flickering pulses appeared on the monitor, 3 separate lives developing within Zara. "All 3 embryos implanted?" Zara asked, medical knowledge kicking in through her shock. "What are the statistical chances of that?" "Approximately 15% with 3 transferred embryos," Dr. Keller replied. "Though rates vary based on maternal factors and embryo quality." Oliver's expression transformed from surprise to something like awe. "3 babies," he whispered, eyes fixed on the screen. "This significantly changes our care plan," the doctor continued, switching to professional mode. "Multiple pregnancies carry higher risks. Preterm labor, gestational diabetes, preeclampsia. We'll need more frequent monitoring, possible bed rest in later trimesters." Zara processed this information with the calm assessment her nursing background provided, but Oliver appeared overwhelmed. "Zara, this is beyond what you agreed to," he said urgently. "The physical demands, the health risks. It's too much to ask. We always knew multiple embryos might implant," she reminded him. "The agreement covered this possibility." "The agreement didn't anticipate triplets," Oliver countered, genuine concern in his voice. "We should discuss selective reduction options." "No," Zara interrupted firmly. "Unless there are specific medical indications, I'm carrying all 3. Dr. Keller gave them privacy to process the news, promising to return with printouts and additional information about multiple gestation. "Are you absolutely certain?" Oliver asked once they were alone, his hand finding hers again. "This changes everything about the pregnancy. The risks are substantially higher." Zara looked at the screen where 3 tiny heartbeats continued their rhythmic fluttering. "I went into this with open eyes, Oliver. I'm healthy, I understand the medical implications, and I'm committed to seeing this through. If anything happened to you because of this..." Oliver couldn't finish the sentence. "Nothing will happen," Zara assured him, though they both recognized the promise exceeded her control. "We'll take every precaution, follow every recommendation. These babies will arrive healthy, and so will I." Oliver's hand tightened around hers, gratitude and concern mingling in his expression. 3 children, he said wonderingly. "I thought I might never have one, and now you'll have 3, Zara completed, feeling strangely calm despite the momentous news. "Looks like the Reeves family line is getting a significant upgrade." As Dr. Keller returned with ultrasound images, Zara and Oliver exchanged a look that acknowledged the journey ahead had just become more complicated, more demanding, and infinitely more profound than either had anticipated. What began as a simple act of kindness, offering shelter from a storm, had evolved into something extraordinary. 3 new lives now grew within Zara, forever connecting her to the man who had once been merely her employer. Can you imagine the mixture of emotions they must have felt at that moment? The joy, the fear, The overwhelming responsibility of not just one but 3 precious lives? Share in the comments whether you think Zara made the right decision to carry all 3 babies despite the increased risks. If this story is touching your heart, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue bringing these powerful human stories to more viewers who need reminders that extraordinary kindness still exists in our world. Now let's continue our journey with Zara and Oliver as their relationship evolves alongside the growing new lives that connect them. By 14 weeks, Zara's body had begun its visible transformation. The subtle curve of her abdomen now announced the precious cargo she carried, prompting a complete overhaul of her wardrobe and daily routine. "These prenatal vitamins are enormous," she complained one morning, sorting through the extensive medication regimen Dr. Keller had prescribed for a triplet pregnancy. "And the iron supplements turn everything black." Oliver looked up from his breakfast, concerned about crossing his features. "Are they making you feel sick? I can ask about alternatives." "I'm managing," Zara assured him, washing down the pills with specially formulated protein shake. "Just stating facts." The physical changes extended beyond the obvious. Her formerly nimble body now moved with deliberate care. Morning sickness, which stubbornly occurred throughout the day, had finally subsided, replaced by ravenous hunger that struck without warning. Her center of gravity shifted weakly, requiring constant adjustment to maintain balance. Oliver observed these changes with a mixture of fascination, gratitude, and concern. He'd immersed himself in research about multiple pregnancies, often knowing what symptoms to expect before Zara experienced them. "Your ankles will likely begin swelling around week 16, he informed her while they reviewed the week's schedule. "We should elevate your desk and add compression stockings to your wardrobe." Zara smiled at his meticulous planning. "You've memorized the entire pregnancy handbook, haven't you?" "Knowledge is my comfort zone," Oliver admitted. "It's the only way I know to support you through this." As her body changed, so did the household dynamics. Oliver had transformed the estate's 3rd bedroom into a nursery designed to accommodate triplets. 3 custom cribs arranged in a semicircle, a specialized changing station with storage for hundreds of diapers, and a comfortable glider position to allow wheelchair access. "The feng shui experts suggest north-facing cribs for better sleep patterns," Oliver explained during Zara's first tour of the space. "Though the research supporting this is questionable at best." "You consulted a feng shui expert?" Zara asked, amused by the scientists seeking mystical guidance. "I'm exploring all variables that might contribute to optimal outcomes," he replied with mock seriousness before breaking into a rare full smile. "Also, my mother insisted. She's flying in next month to perform some traditional blessing for the babies." The nursery represented more than practical preparation. Its existence transformed abstract medical concepts into tangible reality. Soon, 3 actual babies would occupy this space. The emotional weight of this realization hit Zara unexpectedly as she ran her fingers along a crib rail. "Having second thoughts?" Oliver asked quietly, noting her expression. "Not at all," Zara assured him. "Just processing. Sometimes I forget we're creating actual people, not just managing a medical procedure." Oliver wheeled closer, his hand hesitantly reaching toward her rounded abdomen before withdrawing. Despite their increasingly personal connection, certain boundaries remained. "May I?" he asked, gesturing toward her belly. Zara nodded, guiding his hand to where baby B, as designated in medical records, had been particularly active that morning. A firm kick greeted Oliver's touch, causing his eyes to widen with delight. "Hello there," he whispered, speaking directly to her abdomen. "Your nursery awaits, though I suspect you 3 will be sharing quarters for some time after birth as well." The moment crystallized something Zara had been feeling increasingly. This pregnancy might be temporary for her, but she was helping create Oliver's permanent family. The knowledge brought both satisfaction and an unexpected twinge of sadness she quickly suppressed. "I'd better get back to work," she said, stepping away. "Your board meeting presentations need finalization." As she left the nursery, Zara reminded herself of the agreement's parameters. She was a surrogate, not a co-parent. The clear division had seemed simple in theory. In practice, as her body nurtured these lives and Oliver's excitement grew, the emotional boundaries proved increasingly complex to maintain. "Theo," Oliver suggested, scrolling through a baby name app during their evening ritual of reviewing potential names. At 22 weeks, the ultrasounds had confirmed 2 boys and a girl, prompting serious consideration of what these children would be called. "Theo Reeves," Zara repeated, testing the sound. "I like it. Strong but gentle." They sat in the estate's garden, enjoying the mild spring evening. These naming sessions had begun as practical necessity, but evolved into cherished moments of connection, a space where their relationship existed outside employer-employee parameters. "What about Alexandra for the girl?" Oliver offered. "After my grandmother." "Alexandra," Zara smiled, placing Oliver's hand where their future daughter currently performed acrobatics. She seems to approve. That's just gas, Oliver teased, though his expression remained reverent as tiny movements pressed against his palm. Disrespecting your daughter already, Zara mock-scolded. Poor Alexandra Winters-Reeves, Oliver said quietly, if that's all right with you. The suggestion caught Zara off guard. You want to include my name? These children exist because of your extraordinary generosity, Oliver replied simply. Having your name as part of their identity seems appropriate recognition. Emotion tightened Zara's throat. The gesture acknowledged her role in creating these lives while respecting the established boundaries of their arrangement. I'd be honored, she finally managed. Their evening conversations had grown increasingly personal over the months. What began as practical discussions about pregnancy and preparation evolved into sharing formative experiences, hopes for the children's futures, and even their individual pasts. Oliver spoke of his childhood with a brilliant but distant father who valued intellectual achievement above emotional connection. I won't make the same mistake, he vowed. These children will know they're loved unconditionally, not just when they succeed. Zara shared stories of her grandmother, the woman who taught her compassion through example, whose final illness had ultimately led to Zara's homelessness. She would have loved seeing these babies, she admitted during one vulnerable moment. She always said I'd make a wonderful mother someday. She was right, Oliver observed quietly, though not quite in the way she imagined. These exchanges created intimacy neither had anticipated when signing their clinical legal agreement. Oliver found himself sharing thoughts he'd never voiced to anyone, fears about parenting from a wheelchair, determination to create technology that might someday allow him to walk alongside his children, quiet gratitude for the unexpected family forming around him. Zara discovered herself increasingly invested in not just the healthy delivery of these babies, but in their future happiness, in Oliver's success as their father. She caught herself planning nursery improvements, researching developmental milestones, mentally noting Oliver's preferences to incorporate into the children's care. During a routine ultrasound at 24 weeks, the technician offered to reveal the babies' faces with new 4D imaging technology. Ready to see who you're carrying? She asked Zara cheerfully. The grainy golden images revealed 3 distinct profiles, one sucking a thumb, another appearing to frown, the third seemingly waving a tiny hand. Oliver's breath caught audibly at the sight. They're real people, he whispered, eyes fixed on the screen. Did you think they were puppies? Zara joked, deflecting her own overwhelming emotion. But later that night, reviewing the printed images in Oliver's study, the magnitude of what they'd created together fully registered. These weren't abstract medical concepts or future theoretical beings. These were children, Oliver's children, with faces, personalities, and lives that would continue long after Zara's role in their creation concluded. Gabriel, Oliver said suddenly, pointing to baby A's image. He looks like a Gabriel. Theo, Gabriel, and Alexandra, Zara agreed, the names suddenly fitting the tiny faces perfectly. Your children have identities now. Oliver looked up from the images, his expression unguarded. Our children, he corrected softly. Not genetically yours, but they wouldn't exist without you. You'll always be part of their story, Zara, whatever comes next. The statement acknowledged something evolving between them, something neither had named but both increasingly felt. The boundaries established in their agreement remained officially intact, yet emotionally, lines had blurred into territory neither had anticipated. The first sign of trouble came during week 26. Zara woke to sharp pain and concerning pressure that sent them rushing to the hospital at 3 a.m. Premature labor indicators, the specialist confirmed after examination. Not unusual with triplets, but concerning this early, Oliver remained beside Zara's hospital bed throughout the night, his face tight with worry as monitors tracked contractions and fetal heartbeats. By morning, medication had stabilized the situation, but the doctor's instructions were absolute. Strict bed rest until delivery, she ordered. These babies need more time to develop and your body is trying to evict them prematurely. Back at the estate, Oliver transformed the guest house into a medical recovery suite. Hospital-grade monitoring equipment appeared overnight. A rotating schedule of nurses was established. The most comfortable adjustable bed money could buy replaced Zara's standard mattress. This is excessive, Zara protested as another delivery arrived. This time specialized pregnancy pillows designed to alleviate pressure points during extended bed rest. Appropriate precautions, Oliver countered, personally arranging the pillows around her. The babies need 10 more weeks ideally, 8 minimum. The physical constraints of bed rest presented immediate challenges. Zara, accustomed to managing the household with efficient mobility, now found herself dependent on others for basic needs. Oliver rearranged his entire schedule to be present, working from a makeshift office in her living room. You don't need to babysit me, she insisted during his 3rd consecutive day of remote work. The nurses have everything under control. I'm not leaving you alone through this, Oliver replied, his tone leaving no room for argument. My meetings can happen virtually. The company will survive. The vulnerability of her position, physically restricted, emotionally complex, created moments of unexpected tension. One afternoon, frustrated by her inability to perform simple tasks, Zara snapped at Oliver when he adjusted her blankets. I'm not an invalid, she said sharply. Stop hovering. I'm trying to help, he replied, hurt evident beneath his calm exterior. I didn't ask for your help, Zara continued, emotions overwhelming rational thought. I agreed to carry your children, not become completely dependent on you. The words hung between them, harsher than she'd intended. Oliver withdrew slightly, adjusting his wheelchair. I apologize for overstepping, he said formally, the professional distance suddenly restored between them. I'll have the nurse check on you hourly instead. The coolness in his voice triggered immediate regret. Oliver, wait, I'm sorry. He paused at the doorway. You have nothing to apologize for. This situation is extraordinarily difficult, and you're handling it with remarkable grace despite my intrusions. You're not intruding, Zara said quietly. I'm just struggling with feeling useless. For months I managed everything, and now I can barely manage myself. Oliver turned back, professional mask dropping to reveal genuine understanding. You're growing 3 humans simultaneously. That's the opposite of useless. The moment of tension dissolved into renewed appreciation for their unusual partnership. In the days that followed, they established new rhythms adapted to Zara's restricted mobility. Oliver read medical journals aloud during his evening visits. They discussed nursery color schemes and pediatrician options. She helped prepare board meeting presentations while he finalized birth plans. For their messages of courage and kindness. The babies can hear external sounds now, he explained when Zara questioned the practice. Studies suggest prenatal reading establishes voice recognition and potentially language foundations. And you want them to know your voice, Zara added, recognizing the emotional motivation beneath the scientific explanation. I want them to know me, Oliver admitted. From the beginning, one night, during a reading of The Velveteen Rabbit, Zara found herself watching Oliver rather than listening to the story. The tenderness in his expression as he addressed her belly, the gentle hand that occasionally reached out to touch where a kick appeared, the vulnerability in his voice when speaking to children he couldn't yet hold. These revealed a man transformed by impending fatherhood. They will know you, she promised when he finished the story. You're already an amazing father, Oliver. His eyes met hers, emotion naked in his expression. Only because you've made it possible. In that moment, with 3 hearts beating between them and a 4th suddenly racing in her chest, Zara acknowledged the truth she'd been avoiding for months. Her feelings for Oliver had evolved far beyond their contractual arrangement. Beyond friendship, beyond professional appreciation, the realization terrified her. This wasn't part of their agreement. Her role was temporary, functional, a biological service with clear boundaries. Emotional attachment threatened the clean separation they'd planned for after delivery. Yet watching Oliver gently close the children's book, his expression soft with dreams of future bedtime stories with his children, Zara couldn't deny what her heart had already decided without consulting her rational mind. The rain returned to San Francisco in late autumn, bringing with it memories of the night that had first connected them. Now as week 28 shifted to 29, Oliver wheeled into Zara's room with a familiar paper bag from the cafe where they'd shared their first real conversation. Celebrating surviving bed rest, day 17, he announced, producing decaf lattes and fresh pastries. The doctor approved the sugar content. I checked. Zara struggled to sit upright, her belly now magnificently round with triplets. My hero, she said, accepting the warm cup gratefully. Oliver positioned himself beside her bed, their evening ritual of shared dessert and conversation now firmly established. Tonight, however, something in his demeanor suggested a shift from their usual casual exchange. I've been thinking, he began after several minutes of comfortable silence. Dangerous pastime, Zara teased, though she sensed the seriousness beneath his casual opening. About after the babies arrive. He set down his cup, fingers drumming nervously on his wheelchair arm. About our arrangement, Zara's pulse quickened. This conversation had hovered unspoken between them for weeks. What would happen after delivery? How would they navigate the transition from their current intimacy back to employer-employee boundaries? Or would Zara leave entirely, as originally discussed? What about it? She asked carefully. I need to tell you something, Oliver continued, his normally confident voice uncertain. This situation has become much more than I expected. My feelings for you have grown beyond our original arrangement. The admission hung between them, altering the atmosphere instantly. Zara remained silent, heart pounding as Oliver continued. I know this wasn't part of our agreement. I know it complicates everything. But watching you carry my children, seeing your strength and kindness daily, Zara, I've fallen in love with you." There it was, the truth they'd both been circling for months, finally spoken aloud. Oliver watched her face intently, clearly braced for rejection. "You don't need to respond," he added quickly. "I understand this changes things in ways you never agreed to. I just couldn't continue pretending my feelings are merely gratitude or friendship." Zara's mind raced through implications, fears, possibilities. "Oliver, A sharp pain interrupted her response, causing her to gasp and clutch her abdomen. Oliver moved instantly from emotional vulnerability to alert concern. "Contraction?" he asked, reaching for the monitoring device beside her bed. "I think so," Zara managed as the pain intensified. "Stronger than before." Oliver activated the monitor, positioning sensors on her belly with practiced efficiency. The readout confirmed what they both feared, regular contractions, 3 minutes apart. The next 30 minutes unfolded in controlled chaos. The on-call nurse arrived, confirming active labor. An ambulance was summoned. Through waves of intensifying pain, Zara remained focused on the 3 tiny lives depending on her. "Too early," she gasped as Oliver held her hand through a particularly strong contraction. "They need more time." "You've given them an excellent start," he assured her, though fear shadowed his eyes. 29 weeks is viable with modern NICUs. As medical professionals transferred her to a stretcher, Zara suddenly gripped Oliver's hand with surprising strength. "Oliver, about what you said, it doesn't matter now," he interrupted. "All that matters is keeping all 4 of you safe." "It does matter," Zara insisted between pained breaths. "Because I love you too. For months, I was too afraid to say it." Oliver's expression transformed, joy battling fear as the paramedics prepared to move her. "We'll talk after," he promised, squeezing her hand. "When you're all safe." The last thing Zara saw before being loaded into the ambulance was Oliver transferring to his specialized van with remarkable speed, determination replacing vulnerability as he prepared to follow her to the hospital. As contractions intensified during the journey, Zara focused on a single thought: the family they'd created together, 3 babies and 2 unexpectedly connected hearts, was worth fighting for, regardless of how complicated their future might become. Sometimes life's most profound connections form when we least expect them. What began as a business arrangement between Zara and Oliver had blossomed into something neither could have predicted: love amid the creation of new life. But now, with the triplets arriving dangerously early, would their newly confessed feelings survive the medical crisis ahead? Would all 3 babies make it safely into the world? If you're moved by Zara and Oliver's journey so far, please hit that like button right now. Your engagement helps our channel reach more people with stories of hope, connection, and unexpected blessings. I'm curious, have you ever found love in a completely unexpected situation? Share your stories in the comments below. And if you haven't already subscribed, do it now to make sure you don't miss the conclusion of this remarkable journey from homelessness to family. Now, let's follow Zara and Oliver into the hospital where 3 tiny lives hang in the balance. Emergency C to section prep, or 2. Dr. Keller's command cut through the controlled chaos of the hospital's high-risk maternity unit. "Baby B's heart rate is dropping. We can't wait." The hospital team moved with practiced urgency as Zara was wheeled down sterile corridors, medical personnel rattling off vital statistics and preparation protocols. Oliver kept pace beside her stretcher, his wheelchair humming with the strain of maximum speed. 29 weeks, triplets, maternal stats stable but fetal distress in second infant, a resident announced as they reached the surgical floor. "Oliver," Zara gasped, clutching his hand as another contraction seized her body. "Stay with me?" "I'll be right there," he promised, though uncertainty clouded his eyes as a nurse approached him. "Sir, you'll need to wait outside during prep," she explained gently. "We'll bring you in once she's stabilized." As they wheeled Zara through the OR doors, her final glimpse of Oliver's face, a mixture of terror and determination, burned into her memory. Inside, the surgical team moved with orchestrated precision. Anesthesia flowed cold through Zara's veins as Dr. Keller explained the procedure with calm efficiency. "We need to move quickly for baby B, but we'll take every precaution," she assured Zara. 29-weekers have excellent survival rates with proper care. The ceiling blurred as medications took effect. Zara felt pressure but no pain as the surgical team worked. A blue drape separated her from the view of her abdomen, but she could track progress through the changing tension in the room. "First extraction begins," Dr. Keller announced. Oliver appeared beside Zara's head, surgical gown covering his clothes, mask obscuring half his face, but his eyes, those expressive eyes, conveyed everything words couldn't. "I'm here," he said simply, taking her hand. "Baby A is out," called Dr. Keller. Male, approximately 2.5 pounds, a tiny, indignant cry, impossibly small yet fiercely determined, filled the room. "Gabriel," Oliver whispered, eyes glistening above his mask. "Baby B extraction now," the surgeon continued. "This one's struggling, cord compression." The tension in the room thickened as seconds stretched into eternity. Oliver's grip on Zara's hand tightened, his knuckles white. "Got him," Dr. Keller announced finally. "Male, 2.2 pounds. The second cry came weaker but present, a flutter of sound rather than a wail. "Theo," Zara murmured through medication fog. "Final extraction underway," the doctor stated. "Baby C, female, 2.4 pounds. Alexandra's arrival brought the strongest cry of all, a surprisingly robust protest against the bright, cold world outside the womb. "All babies extracted, beginning maternal repair," Dr. Keller announced as NICU teams surrounded each newborn, performing initial assessments and preparations for transport. Oliver looked between Zara and the 3 medical teams working on his children, torn between staying with her and following the babies. "Go with them," Zara urged, the medication making her words slur slightly. "They need you. You need me too," Oliver countered, squeezing her hand. "I'm fine," she insisted. "Stay with the babies. Be their father." The simple instruction, "be their father," seemed to resolve his conflict. Oliver leaned down, pressing his masked face briefly against her forehead, in the closest approximation of a kiss the sterile environment allowed. "Thank you," he whispered. "For everything." As Oliver followed the NICU teams transporting the triplets, Zara surrendered to the medication pulling her toward unconsciousness, a smile ghosting across her lips despite the circumstances. Against impossible odds, they had created not just children, but a family. The neonatal intensive care unit operated according to its own rules and rhythms. Day blended into night beneath perpetual fluorescent lighting. Time measured not in hours but in milliliters of milk consumed, grams of weight gained, percentage points of oxygen saturation. Gabriel's pulled out his feeding tube again. The night nurse informed Oliver and Zara on their 4th evening in the NICU. "He's got quite the personality already." 3 isolettes dominated the private room the hospital had arranged for the Reeves triplets. Each transparent enclosure housed a tiny being connected to monitors, wrapped in wires and tubes, mechanical lifelines supporting bodies that had entered the world 11 weeks too soon. Zara approached Gabriel's isolette, her movements still cautious following her C-section. "He gets that stubborn streak from his father." Oliver smiled wearily from his wheelchair. Neither had slept more than 2 hours consecutively since the birth, determined, not stubborn. Important distinction. Their lives had compressed to the confines of this room. The beeping monitors, the hushed conversations with medical staff, the careful negotiations of when to touch, when to wait, when to hope, when to fear. Each baby presented different challenges. Gabriel, the largest at birth, fought against medical interventions with surprising strength for his size. Theo, the smallest and most fragile, struggled with breathing, his tiny lungs requiring the most support. Alexandra fell between her brothers, physically stable but prone to temperature regulation issues. "Kangaroo care time," announced the day nurse during their 2nd week, referring to the skin-to-skin contact crucial for premature development. These precious moments, holding the tiny bodies against their bare chests, became sacred rituals. Oliver learned to transfer from his wheelchair to the specialized NICU recliner where he could safely hold each baby, their miniature forms dwarfed against his chest. "His oxygen levels improve whenever you hold him," the respiratory therapist noted as Theo's stats stabilized during one of Oliver's kangaroo sessions. "He knows his father." Small victories punctuated the greater struggle. First bottle feeding, first bath, first time breathing unassisted for a full hour. Each milestone celebrated with tearful joy, each setback weathered with determined resilience. Alexandra's lost weight again, the neonatologist reported during morning rounds 3 weeks after birth. "We may need to adjust her nutrition strategy." The constant oscillation between progress and regression tested their endurance. When Gabriel developed a minor infection, Oliver refused to leave the hospital for 3 days. When Theo stopped breathing during a feeding, requiring emergency intervention, Zara broke down in the hallway afterward, the accumulated stress finally breaching her composed exterior. Through it all, they functioned as a team, passing information between shifts, supporting medical decisions, maintaining detailed notes on each baby's reactions and preferences. The NICU staff began referring to them as the triplets' parents without qualification or explanation, a simple acknowledgement of the reality forming within those hospital walls. "You need to sleep in a real bed tonight," Oliver insisted one evening, finding Zara dozing uncomfortably in a chair beside Theo's isolette. "You're still recovering yourself." 6 weeks into their NICU journey, exhaustion had become their constant companion. The initial adrenaline had faded, leaving bone-deep fatigue in its wake. yet neither could bear abandoning the vigil for long. "I'm fine," Zara protested automatically. "Alexandra might try her pacifier tonight, which the night nurse will record meticulously," Oliver countered gently. "You can't care for them if you collapse." Their roles had reversed from the pregnancy. Now Oliver monitored Zara's well-being with the same attention she'd once given him. He tracked her medication schedule, ensured she ate regularly, and advocated for her rest despite her protests. "I hate leaving them," Zara admitted, the vulnerability in her voice revealing the emotional toll of the past weeks. "I know," Oliver replied simply. "Me too." That understanding, the shared weight of loving these fragile lives, had become the foundation of their relationship. Their earlier confession of romantic feelings remained unaddressed, suspended in the urgency of the NICU battle. Yet those feelings manifested in countless small gestures. Oliver bringing Zara's favorite tea during midnight feedings, Zara massaging his shoulders when wheelchair fatigue set in, the wordless hand-holding during difficult medical updates. When Theo experienced a breathing crisis in their 7th week, Oliver found Zara in the hospital chapel afterward, silent tears streaming down her face. "I can't lose him," she whispered as Oliver wheeled beside her. "I can't lose any of them. It would break me. It would break us both," Oliver acknowledged, taking her hand. "But we won't lose them. They're fighters, like their mother." "I'm not their mother," Zara corrected automatically, though without conviction. Oliver studied her face. "Biology isn't what makes a mother. Love is. Sacrifice is. By those measures, you're every bit their mother, if you want to be." The statement hung between them, an offer, a question, a possible future neither had explicitly discussed. Zara's expression revealed the conflict within her, desire battling with fear, hope wrestling with practical concerns. "One crisis at a time," she finally said, squeezing his hand. "Let's get them healthy first, then we'll figure out the rest." As if responding to their determination, the triplets began showing consistent improvement. Gabriel graduated from his isolette to a crib. Alexandra mastered bottle feeding. Even Theo, the most medically fragile, began requiring less respiratory support. 8 weeks after their dramatic arrival, the neonatologist delivered the news they'd been waiting for. "If their progress continues at this rate, we can discuss discharge plans for Gabriel next week. The others will follow as they meet criteria." The prospect of bringing their children home, of transitioning from the controlled medical environment to the real world, brought fresh anxieties mixed with desperate longing. "Are we ready for this?" Zara asked that night as they sat together in the quiet NICU, each holding a sleeping baby while the third rested in his crib. Oliver looked at the tiny beings they'd created together, at the woman who had carried them, fought for them, loved them alongside him, and felt certainty amid the chaos of their circumstances. "Together," he said simply, "we're ready for anything." From that stormy night at the Horizon Technologies building to the sterile halls of the NICU, Zara and Oliver's journey reminds us of humanity's remarkable capacity for connection, sacrifice, and love against impossible odds. These tiny fighters, Gabriel, Theo, and Alexandra, brought together two souls who might never have found each other otherwise. Their struggle for survival bonded Zara and Oliver in ways neither could have imagined when they signed those surrogacy papers months earlier. If their story has touched your heart, please take a moment to hit that like button and share this video. Your support helps us continue bringing these powerful real-life journeys to viewers around the world. I'm curious, has someone in your life ever shown extraordinary strength during a crisis? Someone who stepped up when it mattered most? Share your stories of everyday heroes in the comments below. Now, let's see what happens as Zara and Oliver prepare to bring their miracle babies home and face the question they've been avoiding. What kind of family will they become once they leave the hospital behind? "Home discharge checklist complete," the NICU nurse announced, handing Oliver the final paperwork. Gabriel Reeves is officially ready to leave, 10 weeks after their dramatic early arrival. The strongest of the triplets had met all medical criteria for discharge. His siblings would follow in stages, Alexandra likely within days, Theo perhaps a week later as his lung function continued to strengthen. Zara adjusted the specially designed car seat, securing Gabriel's still tiny body with meticulous care. At 5 pounds 4 ounces, he had more than doubled his birth weight but remained delicate compared to full-term newborns. "Oxygen monitor?" Oliver verified, consulting the extensive discharge instructions. "Attached and functioning," Zara confirmed. "Medicine schedule programmed in both our phones. Follow-up appointments scheduled for Wednesday." Their coordination had evolved into an intuitive partnership during the NICU stay. Now, facing the transition home, their teamwork would face new challenges without the safety net of constant medical supervision. "Ready?" Oliver asked, his expression mixing excitement with unmistakable apprehension. Zara nodded, her own emotions equally complex. The moment represented both culmination and beginning, the end of their hospital ordeal, the start of their life as a family beyond medical crisis. The drive home proceeded with careful slowness, Oliver's specially adapted van navigating San Francisco hills while Zara monitored Gabriel's breathing from the back seat. The baby slept peacefully, unaware of the significance of his journey. At the estate, Mrs. Chen and the household staff had prepared a welcome worthy of royalty. Subtle decorations adorned the main entrance, nothing overwhelming for sensitive newborn eyes, but festive nonetheless. The nursery stood ready, its triple occupancy design temporarily adjusted for Gabriel's solo arrival. "Welcome home, little one," Oliver whispered as they settled Gabriel into his crib for the first time. The baby stretched, tiny fingers splaying against the organic cotton sheets, then settled back to sleep with an expression of perfect contentment. Oliver and Zara stood side by side, watching this miracle of ordinary life, a baby sleeping in his crib, exactly as millions of babies had done before him. Yet for them, after weeks of medical equipment and constant crisis, the simplicity felt extraordinary. "We did it," Zara murmured, emotion thickening her voice. "He's home." Oliver's hand found hers, fingers intertwining naturally, one down, two to go. The following days established new rhythms around Gabriel's needs while maintaining their hospital presence for Alexandra and Theo. They worked in shifts, one at home, one at the hospital, coordinating care through detailed notes and video calls. When Alexandra joined her brother 6 days later, the household adjusted again. The baby's personalities emerged more distinctly outside the hospital environment. Gabriel watched everything with alert curiosity. Alexandra demonstrated her impressive lung capacity whenever needs weren't met instantly. "She gets that from you," Oliver teased Zara during a particularly vocal protest over a delayed bottle. "I've never screamed like that in my life," Zara objected, expertly soothing the tiny girl. "Not vocally," Oliver replied with a knowing smile. But that exact expression of outraged impatience? Pure Zara Winters. The observation highlighted something neither had fully articulated, how intertwined they had become, how their partnership had evolved far beyond the original agreement. They functioned as CO parents in every practical sense, sharing responsibilities, decisions, and the profound joy of witnessing these children thrive. Theo's homecoming 2 weeks later completed their family circle. Though still the smallest and most medically vulnerable, his fighting spirit had earned him the nickname Mighty Theo among the NICU staff. "The whole team's finally home," Oliver said that night, watching Zara gently place Theo in his crib alongside his siblings. The simple statement carried weight beyond its words, acknowledgement that home now meant all 5 of them, together, building something neither had dared imagine when they first met beneath that rainy awning. "I need you in my office at 2 p.m., Oliver announced one morning as Zara finished the triplets' feeding routine. The babies, now 4 months old, had settled into a manageable schedule that occasionally allowed adult conversations between their care. "Did I miss a meeting?" Zara asked, checking her tablet calendar while burping Theo against her shoulder. "New item," Oliver replied cryptically. "Alexandra's outfit has a spit-up on the shoulder, by the way." 4 hours later, with the babies napping under Mrs. Chen's watchful eye, Zara entered Oliver's home office. He sat behind his desk, uncharacteristically formal compared to their usual relaxed interactions. "Close the door, please," he requested, setting aside his tablet. Zara complied, curiosity mixed with slight concern. "Is everything all right?" "Better than all right," Oliver assured her, gesturing toward the visitor's chair. "I've been working on something for the past few months. A side project. Whenever the triplets were sleeping, he activated the large wall screen, revealing architectural renderings of a modern single-story building. The design featured accessible entrances, a welcoming reception area, and multiple examination rooms. "The Winters Community Health Clinic," Oliver announced as the digital tour continued. "Specializing in geriatric care for underserved populations, with additional services for those experiencing housing insecurity." Zara stared at the screen, recognition dawning slowly. That's my project. From nursing school. You mentioned it that first night," Oliver confirmed. "Your dream of a clinic where seniors without family support could receive dignified care. I took the liberty of building upon your original concept." The virtual tour continued, showing spaces for patient education, social service coordination, and residential respite care. "The foundation purchased land near the hospital," Oliver explained. "Construction begins next month. We've secured operational funding for the first 5 years and established partnerships with 3 medical schools for staffing and training programs." Zara struggled to process the information, emotions overwhelming her usually composed demeanor. "You built my clinic? Without telling me?" "I built the structure," Oliver corrected gently. "You'll build the actual clinic, the programs, the care standards, the heart of it. That is, if you want to." "If I want to," Zara repeated incredulously. The foundation needs an executive director, Oliver continued. Someone with the medical background and personal passion to ensure the clinic fulfills its mission. The board unanimously approved your appointment this morning. Zara's mind raced through implications. But the triplets, our arrangement, that's a separate conversation, Oliver assured her. This position is yours regardless of any personal decisions we make. You inspired the project, Zara. No one else could lead it with the same understanding. She studied the screen again, noting how the design incorporated elements she'd described during late-night conversations, the garden spaces, the community gathering areas, the emphasis on patient dignity through thoughtful architecture. Why? She asked finally, turning back to Oliver. Because you gave me my dream, he answered simply. You deserved yours too. The gesture represented more than professional opportunity. It acknowledged her identity beyond the babies, recognized that while surrogacy had brought them together, Zara's value extended far beyond her role as the triplets' carrier. Thank you, she whispered, words inadequate for the emotion flooding her chest. I don't know what else to say. Say you'll accept the position, Oliver replied. Say you'll build something extraordinary for people who need it. Zara's answer required no thought. Yes, absolutely yes. Early morning sunlight filtered through the nursery blinds as Zara gently rocked Theo back to sleep, following his 5 a.m. feeding. At 6 months old, the triplets had established reasonably predictable patterns, though they still coordinated their wakeful periods with maddening efficiency. Tag team, Oliver whispered from the doorway, wheeling quietly into the room. He's almost out again, Zara murmured, rubbing circles on the baby's back. Alexandra will probably wake in about 20 minutes if the pattern holds. Oliver nodded, positioning himself beside the rocking chair. They had perfected this dance of parenthood, anticipating needs, sharing responsibilities, supporting each other through exhaustion. As Theo's breathing deepened into sleep, Zara carefully transferred him to his crib. The babies still slept in the same room, though they had graduated to separate cribs as their movements became more active. Coffee? Oliver suggested quietly as they slipped from the nursery. In the kitchen, a familiar routine of early morning provided comfortable structure. Oliver prepared coffee, while Zara assembled protein-rich breakfast options they could eat one-handed when the next baby inevitably woke. The clinic construction passed final inspection yesterday, Oliver mentioned, handing Zara her mug. We're on schedule for the opening next month. The staff training program starts Monday, Zara added. I've finalized the patient intake protocols. Their conversation flowed easily between children, work, and household matters, the natural rhythm of partners sharing a life. Yet beneath the comfortable domesticity lay unresolved questions about their future. The original surrogacy agreement had never anticipated their current reality. Zara, Oliver began after a moment of companionable silence. We need to talk about something important. She recognized his tone, the same careful approach he used when discussing significant decisions. Is everything all right? Everything's wonderful, he assured her. That's actually what I want to discuss. Oliver wheeled slightly back from the counter, positioning himself to fully face her. When we made our original arrangement, we expected clear boundaries. You would carry the babies, I would raise them. Our paths might diverge afterward. Zara nodded, her coffee suddenly unappetizing as anxiety fluttered in her chest. Instead, Oliver continued, we've created something neither of us anticipated. Not just the triplets, but this partnership, this family. He reached for her hand, his expression vulnerable yet determined. I love you, Zara, not from gratitude, not from circumstance, but for the remarkable woman you are. The way you problem solve, your dedication to helping others, your strength through adversity, the hundreds of small kindnesses you show daily. Zara's heart raced as Oliver continued, his words deliberate and sincere. I want us to be a real family, officially, permanently. Not as employer and employee, not as a surrogate and intended parent, but as equal partners raising these children together. From his pocket, Oliver produced a small velvet box. I'm asking you to marry me, Zara, to be my wife, my partner, and the mother of our children in every sense that matters. The proposition hung between them, monumental yet somehow inevitable, the natural progression of their extraordinary journey from that rainy night to this sun-filled morning. The triplets need consistency, Oliver added when Zara remained silent. But more than that, I need you. I want to build our future together. The clinic, the children, whatever comes next. Zara looked at the man before her, the brilliant mind, the determined spirit, the gentle father, and recognized the simple truth beneath all the complex circumstances that had brought them together. Yes, she answered, tears gathering despite her smile. Yes to all of it. As Oliver slipped the ring onto her finger, the baby monitor lit up with Alexandra's morning noises. They both laughed, the perfect timing a reminder of the beautiful chaos they'd chosen to share. Duty calls, Zara said, admiring the ring briefly before rising. Our duty, Oliver corrected, following her toward the nursery. Our family, our future. Laughter and conversation filled the estate's garden, transformed for the triplets' first birthday celebration. Colorful decorations adorned the space, though the guests of honor seemed more interested in destroying their smash cakes than appreciating the festive atmosphere. Theo, no! Zara lunged to prevent the smallest triplet from feeding cake to the family's recently adopted golden retriever. Duke has his own treats. Nearby, Oliver supervised Alexandra's determined efforts to stand independently beside a decorative planter. At 12 months chronological age, 9 months adjusted for their prematurity, the triplets had overcome their challenging start with remarkable resilience. Gabriel, the largest and most coordinated, already took tentative steps while holding furniture. Alexandra preferred scooting at impressive speeds. Theo, still the smallest but no longer fragile, specialized in climbing anything within reach. They're thriving, Dr. Keller observed, watching the birthday chaos with professional satisfaction. You'd never know they were micro-preemies. We never forget, Zara replied, thinking of the journey from those terrifying NICU days to this joyful celebration. The guest list reflected the unique community that had formed around their unconventional family. Medical staff from the NICU, Oliver's executive team, the construction foreman who had expedited the clinic building, Caroline and her family, now regular visitors to meet their cousins. In a quiet moment between celebration duties, Oliver found Zara watching Gabriel attempt to feed cake to his siblings. Happy? He asked, taking her hand, the simple gold band on her finger catching the afternoon sunlight. Beyond happy, she confirmed, leaning against his wheelchair. You? I have everything I never dared hope for, Oliver replied, his gaze taking in their children, their home, the woman who had transformed his life. The Winters Community Health Clinic had opened its doors 3 months earlier, already serving hundreds of patients who had previously fallen through healthcare gaps. Zara split her time between clinic administration and family, while Oliver had restructured Horizon Technologies to allow more work from home. Their wedding, a small ceremony with the triplets in attendance, had formalized what everyone already recognized. They had built something extraordinary together, a family formed through unexpected circumstances and deliberate choice. Mom, Dad, look, Caroline called, capturing their attention as Alexandra pulled herself upright and took one wobbling independent step before plopping back to the grass. The moment, ordinary for most families, miraculous for theirs, capsulized their journey. From desperate strangers meeting in a rainstorm to parents celebrating milestones together, their path had never been conventional. As the celebration continued around them, Oliver pulled Zara close. From homeless to home, he murmured, echoing words she had spoken during their wedding vows. That's what we found together. Zara watched their children, surrounded by love and opportunity, and thought about the countless decisions, some desperate, some brave, all transformative, that had led to this moment. Not just a home, she corrected gently. A family. Alexandra took another tentative step, this time toward them, her brothers watching with fascination at their sister's new skill. 3 distinct personalities, connected by circumstance and love, moving forward together, just like the adults who had created them. To think it all started with a rainstorm and an awning, Oliver mused, squeezing Zara's hand. And kindness, Zara added. One moment of kindness that multiplied beyond imagination. As if understanding he was being discussed, Gabriel abandoned his cake to crawl rapidly toward them, followed by his siblings in their own unique ways, Alexandra walking unsteadily, Theo employing his efficient army crawl. Oliver and Zara welcomed the joyful collision of children against legs and wheelchairs, the physical embodiment of the family they had built together. Unexpected, unconventional, and absolutely perfect in its beautiful complexity. Sometimes the most beautiful journeys begin in our darkest moments. For Zara and Oliver, a chance encounter during a storm led to an extraordinary path neither could have imagined. From homelessness to family, from isolation to connection, from hopelessness to purpose. Their story reminds us that family isn't always about biology or conventional arrangements. Sometimes it's about the choices we make, the love we give, and the courage to see possibilities where others see only obstacles. 5 years passed since that stormy night when Zara sought shelter beneath the Horizon Technologies awning. The estate that once felt impossibly grand now echoed with the laughter of 3 energetic kindergartners racing through its halls. Slow down, Gabriel, Zara called as the eldest triplet led his siblings in what appeared to be a reenactment of their favorite dinosaur documentary. Indoor feet, remember? From his home office, Oliver emerged to witness the commotion, his wheelchair now operated by an advanced neural interface developed by his company's medical division. The paleontologists are particularly enthusiastic today, he observed, catching Alexandra as she barreled toward him. "Papa, we found fossils in the garden," she announced, presenting a collection of ordinary rocks with extraordinary conviction. "Extraordinary discovery," Oliver replied with perfect seriousness. "Perhaps we should document your findings after dinner." Theo, still the smallest but now the most analytical of the three, was already arranging the fossils by size and shape. "We need to categorize by geological period," he informed his siblings with authority that belied his 5 years. As the children resumed their prehistoric expedition toward the playroom, Oliver and Zara exchanged the knowing smile of parents witnessing the unique personalities they'd helped shape. "Did you imagine this?" Zara asked quietly, gesturing toward their boisterous family life. "That night under the awning, did you ever imagine where we'd end up?" Oliver considered the question with characteristic thoughtfulness. "I imagined many futures," he admitted, "most involving solitude and work, none involving dinosaur hunting triplets and a community health clinic with your name on the building." The Winters Community Health Clinic had expanded to 3 locations across the Bay Area, providing specialized care to seniors and housing insecure individuals. Zara's vision, combined with Oliver's resources and connections, had created something neither could have accomplished alone. Life gives its greatest gifts through its greatest challenges, Zara reflected. My grandmother used to say that, though I never fully understood until now. Their journey from that rainy night had traversed territory neither had mapped in their individual plans: homelessness, disability, premature birth, and ultimately an unconventional family built on choice rather than circumstance. "I think about who I was before," Oliver said, "focused entirely on technological solutions, believing innovation alone could solve human problems. I never understood the power of simple human connection. And I was so determined to handle everything independently," Zara added. Even when it meant sleeping on library chairs rather than accepting help, the parallel stubbornness that had once defined them had gradually transformed into complementary strengths, Oliver's strategic vision enhancing Zara's practical compassion, her emotional intelligence balancing his analytical approach. "We needed each other," Oliver concluded simply, though neither of us would have admitted it at the time. Beyond their personal journey, their union had created ripples of positive change. The clinic provided healthcare access to thousands. Oliver's adaptive technology division developed innovations born from his own experience. Their foundation funded educational opportunities for nursing students from disadvantaged backgrounds. "The unexpected path proved infinitely better than the one I'd planned," Zara acknowledged, watching their children through the playroom doorway. "Even in my most optimistic moments, I never imagined this much joy." Later that evening, as Oliver read bedtime stories to the triplets, Zara found herself drawn to the estate's east terrace, the spot where she had first offered to be Oliver's surrogate nearly 6 years earlier. The garden below had been redesigned to accommodate wheelchair access throughout, with sensory elements the children adored exploring. From this vantage point, she could see the lights of San Francisco sparkling across the bay, the same city where she had once wandered without shelter, without hope, without belief in second chances. "Penny for your thoughts," Oliver said, joining her on the terrace after tucking in the children. "Just reflecting on how completely life can transform," she replied. "How a single moment of kindness can alter everything that follows." Oliver nodded, understanding immediately. "That moment when I offered you shelter from the rain." "That moment when I accepted," Zara corrected gently. "Both were equally important. Your offer and my willingness to receive it." The exchange highlighted the fundamental truth they had discovered through their journey. Transformation required both giving and receiving, the courage to offer help and the bravery to accept it. "We talk about giving second chances," Oliver reflected, "but rarely acknowledge how difficult it is to accept them, to believe you deserve another opportunity when everything suggests otherwise." Their story embodied this principle. Oliver had offered material assistance, but Zara had given equally valuable gifts: purpose, family, connection. Each had provided what the other most needed at precisely the right moment. "Kindness isn't just about grand gestures," Zara observed. "It's about seeing possibility in another person when they've stopped seeing it in themselves." This insight had become the guiding philosophy of their shared work at the clinic, through the foundation within their family. The recognition that transformation happens through relationship, through connection, through the simple acknowledgement of another's inherent value. "The children understand this instinctively," Oliver noted. "Remember when Theo insisted on bringing flowers to his teacher after she lost her cat, or when Alexandra shared her special toy with the new student?" "They're learning by watching us," Zara replied. "Every day, we show them what matters through our choices." Zara and Oliver's extraordinary journey reminds us of truths we too often forget in our busy lives. That acts of kindness, even small ones, can spark transformations beyond our imagination. That second chance matters, both in giving and receiving them. That family forms in countless ways, defying conventional definitions. Their story began with a simple choice during a rainstorm, a moment when two people saw each other as fully human despite their circumstances. From that recognition grew something beautiful, unexpected, and profoundly important. Each of us faces similar choices daily, opportunities to see beyond appearances, to offer help without judgment, to accept assistance with dignity rather than shame. These moments might seem insignificant when they occur, yet they contain the seeds of profound change. What might happen if you offered shelter from someone's storm today? What could transform if you found the courage to step in from the rain when someone extends their hand? The possibilities are limitless. If this story has touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel and share this video with someone who might need its message. Your engagement helps us continue sharing stories that illuminate the extraordinary potential within ordinary human connections. Before you go, take a moment to reflect in the comments. When has someone's kindness changed your path? Or, when have you witnessed a small act of generosity create ripple effects beyond its original intention? Remember, transformation rarely announces itself with fanfare. It often arrives in quiet moments. A door held open, a meal shared, a genuine question asked, a hand extended in rain. This is Mr. Ross, reminding you that the most beautiful stories often begin where we least expect them. Until next time, keep your eyes open for the extraordinary hiding within ordinary moments.